Welcome back, it's Law Society and I. Childcare in this part of the world is different from what obtains in other parts of the world because it is seen as a communal responsibility than that of a nuclear family. Despite this fact, the nuclear family remains a very important factor in the life of every child. It is mostly from this immediate family that a child enjoys some security and, most importantly, some warm parental care, love, and affection, which are the elements every child needs in order to develop properly. However, there are certain factors that are tied to this love and care that are being prejudiced today, which are economic inability, poverty, and limited resources. However, today, in today's edition of Law Society and I, we'll be discussing a major family topic, child adoption in Nigeria. And as you do know, I am not alone in the studio. I have a guest here to do justice, a legal practitioner, to do justice to today's edition of Law Society and I. And a very interesting topic, like I said earlier. We have no other person than Barrister D.O. Onyomovigo. Good to have you in the studio today.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, viewers.
All right, now, before we go down to the crux of the issue, what is child adoption? Let's start from the foundation.
Okay. Child adoption is the process whereby the legal relationship between a child and his biological parents are severed or is severed and re-established between the child and his adoptive parents, which is the third parties in the relationship. So when a child is severed from his biological parents and reunited or given to a third party who is adopting the child, then there's an adoption.
Now, in the course of your definition,
yes,
you made it sound like the natural parent, which is the birth parent of the child,
yeah,
should be known to the adoptive parents. Is that how it is? Is that how it's supposed to be?
No, it's not compulsory that you know, see, it depends on the situation.
Okay.
When the parents of the child is alive, there must be a consent from them before the child can be adopted. So if the parent of the child that is going to be adopted, they are alive, their consent is sought for. They must have given their consent that this child, let us give him or her out for another family who is in need of a child or who can take proper care of the child to take the child legally. That
is, if the adoptive parent knows the biological parent of the child. So in a situation where they don't know the biological parent of a child,
yes,
what happens?
It can still adopt.
The child can still
and
adopt.
The child has also been severed from his biological parents. So when a child is severed from his biological parent, that means the parent that gave birth to the child. When you remove the child from them, you have severed them. Then given to a third party,
yes,
that is the parents that are adopting the child, then adoption has taken place.
Now, do we have laws regulating child adoption in Nigeria?
Yes, we have law. We have Child Right Act, which is the general law.
Okay.
Then each state have child rights law. The general one is Child Rights Act, while the one of the states of the federation is child law. That is child rights law. So that is the law guiding it.
Okay. Aside the laws,
yes,
do we have agencies or bodies that are saddled with this responsibility?
Yes, there are bodies.
Okay.
There are bodies that have been given power, who are in charge. That is the adoption unit or welfare agency or adopting agency, a governmental agency that is saddled with the responsibility of making sure that the adoption is carried out legally.
Carried out legally, meaning there are steps.
Yeah, there are steps.
So what are the steps?
So the steps, before we go to these steps,
okay,
we need to know who can adopt.
Who can adopt? Well, that's actually
yes.
okay.
We must know who can adopt. The law stipulates that a couple can give, both of them can give a consent, or they can agree together. There can be an agreement between a couple to adopt a child. When this happens, the consent of both party in the marriage they will agree together to adopt a child. In that case, the child or the parents must be 25 years and above.
Okay.
Yes, they must attain the age of 25 years. Either of the
spouses.
Yeah, the spouse. So apart from that, there must be a consent between the two of them. Maybe the husband and the wife must agree, let us adopt a child. They must attain the age of 25. But if a single parent want to adopt, or a married man, maybe a husband and the wife, they are at home, they are together, but the wife has the burden to adopt a child.
Yes.
What she needs to do is to ask the husband, and if the husband, okay, if you want to adopt, you can go adopt. He has also given consent. But that one now is one person. So that person can also adopt a child.
Okay.
Then a single person can also adopt a child. Maybe she's not yet married, but she wants to adopt a baby who she can take care of, or who he can take care of. He can also apply to adopt a child.
Okay.
But in that case, that single person must attain the age of 35 years.
Must attain the age of 35 years. Okay. Now, speaking of singlehood,
yes,
can a bachelor adopt a female child? Can a spinster adopt a male child?
The law generally stipulates that is the general law, stipulates that a male single person can only adopt the same sex.
Okay.
If you are a man, you can only adopt a boy. If you are a girl or a lady, you can only adopt a lady, a girl child, rather. Girl child, yes. But the law of Lagos did not really put that clause. You understand what I'm saying? They did not put a clause, because when you look at this law, each state has the way they modify the laws. Yes, the child right law of each state. There are little variations from different states. So when a state like Lagos did not put it as a mandatory that you must adopt
the same sex
as the person, as the adoptee.
Okay, so now down to the steps. Yes. What are the steps I must take? We must take to adopt a child.
The step that a person that wants to adopt must take. One, he must apply.
Okay.
Yes, you must apply. When you apply to the agency that is involved, you get the application to the agency. They will interview that is the person that is the adopter that want to adopt a child.
Okay.
So they will interview him or her. After the interview, then you fill in the necessary paper. Then you apply to High Court. Some states, they use their High Court. You use their High Court to apply before an order can be given. Then some states, it is a juvenile court.
Okay.
Yes. So it depends on the states the person is applied to adopt a child from.
Okay.
So the law states that you must apply. Then after application, the person has been interviewed. After 3 months, you put in your papers, you file before a court. The court will look at all your documents. They can grant the order for you to adopt the child.
Now, speaking of the steps.
Yes.
After the application is made, how long does it take for the court to grant the order, and how long does it take for you to have access to the child?
Immediately after following the steps, I request to the appropriate adoption agency.
Yes.
After the interview.
Yes.
Upon the completion of the period of 3 months, you apply to the court. If the court grant you order, that's all. They grant you order to adopt the child.
Okay. Does the onus lie on the adopter to approach any orphanage home, or is the duty of the court's representative to do that, or the agency rather?
It's the agency.
Okay.
The adopter will approach the appropriate adoption agency. Each state in Nigeria has an adoption unit or welfare agency that is responsible for adoption. You don't just go to orphanage and say, give me this one. No, that is not the legal step. The legal step is that you approach the agency that is saddled with that responsibility. When you approach that agency, they will now, you collect the form, they interview you. After the interview, process everything. Then, upon the completion of the period of 3 months, the applicant will now file an application for adoption of the child at the High Court or in Juvenile Court.
Now, in the course of your explanation,
Yes.
you made mention of you can't just go to an orphanage and take a child.
Yes.
So meaning there are illegal adoptions. Is there anything like that, if there is?
You know, apart from statutory adoption, we
Okay.
still have a customary adoption.
Okay.
So, but the one of customary adoption has to do with a relation most often.
Most often?
Yes.
Okay.
So what is important is that there are agencies that are saddled with that responsibility. If you go to that agency, they will now know how to package everything that will make it a legal adoption.
Peradventure, a person fails to go through the agency
Yes.
and fails to go through the court
Yes.
and fails to do the customary form of adoption,
Yes.
and person decides to just go to an orphanage, pay the owner a particular sum of money, picks up a child, that is termed illegal. Am I
Yeah,
correct?
yes,
What
that
are
is
the
illegality.
consequences?
You see, the issue involving the scenario that you have just projected is that most children in orphanage home, there are no guardians, there are no parents that are really following or protecting them. Most of all these, most of the children are children seen maybe along the road, or they just dump them, and the parents, the biological parent, will just run away. The orphanage will now bring them home, take good care of them. So by the time they even give such a child out, we don't have agency in Nigeria, or the federal government does not really take proper records. So most of all these illegalities cannot be accounted for. So, but since there are no parents or no biological parents or guardians or people that are following the children, the update of the children, you see, they do it and they go scot-free most of the time because there is no record to show. But if there are proper documentation from the government, you know that this orphanage home is having 50 children,
yes.
under the custody of such home. By the time they come, they will take records. There are 50 under you. Now there are 40. What happened?
What happened? More like checkmating them.
Yeah, checkmating them. But in Nigeria, we are not used to keeping records. That is one of the problems that we have. So when you see such orphanage giving out or selling out children to other people, it's illegal. Stricto sensu, it's illegal. But how do we track them?
Yes.
How do we contain them? How do we really have the power or the enablement to follow up the procedure that is taking place in such orphanage home? We don't have it. That is just the short comment that we see in such arrangement.
Okay. What are the factors the court will need to consider before giving up a child for adoption?
The adopter,
yes,
must be a person that must be responsible.
Okay.
He must have good character. He must have good character. Also, part of it is that he must also have a means of taking care
of the child.
You can't just go and take child and you want to use it for child labor. No, you can't do that. So he must have means of taking care of the child. He must also have a good, it must be of good character. So these are the things that we see in the adopter that will make the process to be successful during the period of interview. You know, when you apply, you make request of the appropriate adoption, there will be interview process. In that process, that interview process, that is when they will really know much about you. Why are you adopting? Can you take care of the adoptee or of the child? Do you have the means? Are you of good character? Where do you work? You know, from they have an investigating officer who can even go without you knowing, asking questions. Yeah, question about the person that is coming to adopt a child. So by the time they know that it's of shady characters, such a request will not be approved.
Now, speaking of checkmating and due diligence with regard to the adopter and the adoptee, after a child is being given up for adoption, does the agency move a step further to check if the child is being properly taken care of?
Immediately the court has given an order. The child is no longer the property of the government. It's just like someone's child, because you have adopted the baby and the court has granted the order. In fact, the child start to bear the person's name, that's the daughter's name. It becomes part and parcel of that family. So are you in any way saying it cannot be revoked even when it's obvious that the adopter is not taking care of the child? The only ground where it can be revoked is that if they see that there is fraud in the process of their of carrying out the adoption, if there is fraud or misrepresentation, those are really grounds that are cogent for government to revoke. Most often, it's irrevocable. You understand? It's irrevocable because, if not because of the wicked act of a man or the wicked nature of beings, human beings, on planet Earth, when somebody needs a child and the government approve it for you, what will make you to maltreat such a child? It's your child. Merely the court grants the adoption, it becomes your child. Why will you punish? Well, so, anything is bound to happen anyway. Even in a normal situation, you see parents even maltreating their own children. So it's not abnormal. You even see some parents using their children for rituals. So they are not abnormal. But the truth is that, in as much as the court has granted the order that the adopter should adopt the child, and the adoption has been approved and given, an order will be given for the adoption, it becomes the child of the adopter. Now, we've been speaking of child. Is there any age that can be adopted? Is there an age limit for adoption? The law, that is the Child Rights Act 2003, stipulate that the adoptee must be within the age of 18, under 18. That is the act. Then the law, some stipulate 17, some stipulate 18. So there is no actually fixed age. It's a child. A child, a child is under 18. But not these days. Children of 18 years, obviously, or they claim to be teens. Although it depends on sometimes in some criminal law, the age may be varied. But normally, a child is between 0 and 18. Most persons mistake adoption for fostering. Yes. I'd like to throw a little more light on that. What's the difference between adoption and fostering? Adoption is what we have just discussed. Obviously. The other one, which we have mentioned, foster child, is you did not adopt the child. You did not give birth to the child, but you just take the child like your own. You want to be a father to the person without passing through the law. And you are not the biological father, that is a foster child. Well, indeed, what we'll do right now is go on a short break. And when we return, I'll make it more interactive, where I'll open up the lines for you to ask your questions and make your contributions. Don't forget, it's Law Society and I. And the topic for today is child adoption in Nigeria. And I'm sure we are learning a lot today because our guest is doing justice to today's edition of Law Society and I. Please stay with us. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back after the break.